Road. That shooting occurred on Monday evening. That was Monday, February 8th, 2021. Members of our gang unit were out there doing a deployment in the area. They actually had somebody stopped on a traffic stop when they heard gunfire coming from the apartment complex. Those detectives immediately cut that person loose from the traffic stop, started running towards, or actually driving towards, the gunfire that they heard. When they get in the area of the gunfire, they see a dark-colored vehicle fleeing the scene and driving erratically. The officers attempted to do a traffic stop on the vehicle, and the driver continued to flee. We've later learned that the driver of that vehicle was a 14-year-old female. Let me repeat that. The driver of the getaway vehicle in a murder is a 14-year-old female. She takes police on a 3-mile pursuit, or approximately 3 miles. They attempt to pit the car a couple of times, which is a precision intervention technique, and they're unable to do that. They are later able to pit the vehicle at, near the 3-mile mark, and officers converge on the vehicle and take in the occupants. There were 4 occupants that they took into custody at that point, and they all started making statements. We didn't shoot those people, we didn't shoot those people. The officers, realizing they have the right vehicle, converge back on the scene. The original scene patrol is already there, looking for the apartment where they think the gunshot occurred in. The gang unit, they do a canvass of the area, talk with residents, and they come up to someone that's able to help them locate the apartment. Inside, they find the 3 victims that we talked about earlier in our releases. In this case, the vehicle that I mentioned earlier that was fleeing the scene was stolen out of Clay County. So, I mean, when you talk about the criminal nature of this whole planned event, you know, it's with a stolen car from another county and comes into Jacksonville and then plans this robbery, this murder. So the 4 individuals from the vehicle have each been charged with a second-degree murder as well as a conspiracy to commit robbery. We have conducted a search warrant on the vehicle that was had the suspects in it, as well as the apartment. There were 3 firearms located in this suspect vehicle. One of them was disassembled, and we believe that, and logically believe that that would be the murder weapon. It looks like they were starting to break it down to maybe throw it away in pieces as they made their getaway. Fortunately, the officers converged on them so fast that we were able to get all of the evidence from that scene or from that situation. But there were 3 firearms in the vehicle. The search warrant on the residence revealed that there were over 100 Oxycontin pills, a large ball of a white powder that we're still running tests on and should know more later, and a large amount of cash. So, as I mentioned, this is not a random act of violence. We're still trying to figure out exactly what the root is beyond the robbery and the murder that occurred, but it's not a random act of violence. Once again, if the public has any information in regards to this crime or any others, you can call 630-0500, or you can email us at jsocrimetips@jacksheriff.org, or you can call Crime Stoppers, 1-866-845-TIPS. The suspects in this case is Elena Sears, 14 years old, Owen Chico Cosme, 17, Keyshawn Glover, 17, and Keon Lester, 18 years old. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So I was hearing possibly that there's a 5th suspect. Can you comment on that? Do you have him arrested yet?
So we're continuing to investigate. the case. Obviously, we're still trying to figure out some of the details and those kinds of things. So if there is an additional suspect, we're obviously taking a look at that, and we'll see where the evidence leads us.
And the drugs that were found, those were in the victim's residence?
Those were in the victim's apartment, yes.
What do you think the relationship was between the victims and the suspects?
We're taking a look at that. Obviously, for the suspects to know that there's items inside of the apartment that they valued or wanted to take or rob from them. I mean, there's some relationship. We're just trying to figure that out now. It's still early in the investigation, but we'll run that down.
Do you know if any of these teens, do you know if they've been linked to any other robberies or murders if the car came from Clay that was used here yesterday?
So we've provided you with their criminal history. It's sad because every one of these kids, and I agree with you, kids have prior felony arrest. You're not 14 or 17 and start out your criminal career with robbery and murder. You typically start off at lower level crimes. So, I mean, obviously from their criminal history, you can tell they've had brushes with the law before. And it's just sad when you see this information that comes up. It's shocking and appalling when you see that you've got kids, 14, 17, 18 years old, out committing crimes like this in our city.
Do we know of any relation between the victims?
I don't have that information, but obviously it's a part of the investigation, and so at this point in time, we're still looking at that, and so we're not entirely done with that yet.
And that includes the ages of those victims as well?
Yes. Well, we know our victims. We've identified our victims. We're just, like I said, we worked to put this together really fast in regards to, obviously, it came together really fast with the great work from our gang unit. And so yesterday, most of yesterday was spent in regards to the suspect interviews and collecting the evidence and really running that down. I mean, with this many suspects and this many interviews and obtaining the search warrant for the apartment and the cars, it really consumed the day. And so, I mean, some of the peripheral things will continue to build on those.
And earlier you said robbery and murder, so signs are pointing to robbery at this point?
So they have been charged with second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit robbery.
Will they be charged as adults?
Well, that's up to the state, but I mean, obviously, this is a heinous crime. It's that's the state's decision and for the juveniles if they're adjudicated and charged that way. But it's certainly it's a violent crime. I mean, it's sad to say that is an adult crime, but I mean that decision will be made later.
Then also hearing from some sources that a 15-year-old boy inside of the vehicle was the shooter. Can you comment on that?
I did not list any 15-year-old boys in that case. I have a 14-year-old female, 2 17-year-olds, and an 18-year-old. So.
Can you confirm if anyone, there are 3 people who died, 2 Hispanic males, 1 Hispanic woman, if any of them were employees of the state attorney's office?
I cannot confirm that.
And you changed the name of an apartment complex, but it's still a trouble spot. What are the efforts to try to make sure we don't have to show up at this place again?
Well, I know the property owners recently took possession of the complex. They've put a lot of money into the complex. They've even reached out to provide some services to the residents since this incident. But it really speaks for, community engagement, community involvement, and getting to the root of the issues, whether it's that complex or another one. I mean, I know we just were talking about this area earlier this week in regards to some issues that happened out there. So, I mean, we always go back to community involvement, and we need that information. We need that help to root out what the issues are. I mean, obviously, from what we found, this is a drug house, but we find out about it after the fact.
Can you say why the three victims were there?
I can't speak to that point in regards to exactly what their purpose was.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.